So welcome everyone to the New College Student Life info session. So today you're really going to learn a lot about the different roles that we have and opportunities available for both orientation and our mentorship pieces. So I'm going to give a quick introduction to our staff here. So unfortunately, Trish Starling is our Assistant Dean of Student Life and Leadership. She couldn't be here today, but no worries. Two members are still here. I am Alex Safar. I'm the Student Life Programs Coordinator here at New College within the Office of Residence and Student Life. A bit about my portfolio. I work closely with mentorship and orientation. For mentorship, for example, I work very closely with the mentors in the fall winter semester. And with orientation, I'm mostly working with the executives in more of an advisor role, but kind of spread out throughout the different student life portfolios. And I'll let Chelsea introduce herself.
Hi everyone, I'm Chelsea. I'm the Programs and Communications Assistant, also known as the PACA. A lot of the things I do involve social media and communications pieces such as the newsletter. During the summer, I do work a lot with the e-mentorship program and as well as kind of an advisor role for orientation and any other supports there.
Yeah, thank you, Chelsea. And just a bit about Trish. I know she's not here, but wanted to give a bit of an introduction for her as well. Again, she's the AD of Student Life and Leadership. So she also works very closely with orientation, in particular the OCs or orientation coordinators, as well as the commuter advisors who you see in the fall and winter semester. So a lot of work there. And she is someone who's really great. And I'm sorry you couldn't see her today, but you might see her around Wilson Lounge sometime. So definitely say hi. And I will note our email at the bottom is new.studentlife@utoronto.ca. So you're more than welcome to reach out to us at any time using that email. One of us will see it and be able to respond to you if you have any questions or want to learn more about the different roles available. Okay. So moving on to our outcomes for today, really, we're going to identify each of the roles, what they look like, and the commitment levels, as well as the compensation models. Then we're going to understand the relationship between the different roles and how they essentially relate to the grand picture of orientation, Sprout mentorship, and the student life and leadership portfolio here at New College and beyond. Then you're going to identify how to receive further support during the application process. So we're going to talk a little bit more about the workshops available, ways to get connected with the Career Center, for example. We also have Hannah Stevenson from Career Education Exploration, who's hosting a workshop just for us. So really great resources there to help you in this process. A little bit about the ORSL mission and values. Sorry, next slide, please, Chelsea. Thank you. So this just gives you a bit of idea of what our office values and strives for in our work and the relationship with each other and the students. So just reading quickly the quote, the New College Office of Residence and Student Life complements the academic mission of the college by being student-centered, equity-grounded, and facilitating access to opportunities by emphasizing self-awareness and community accountability. So you're more than welcome to read this slide or look back to it when you're watching the recording again, but really great values to kind of review. Also consider them when you're looking into the different roles, how they align with your own values, and also throughout your application process. So a little bit more into the specifics of orientation and Sprout mentorship. So in particular, the date ranges. So we're currently in the hiring process for orientation and mentorship. So that's looking between February to April. Really, this time is for orientation coordinators and orientation executives to be hired. From May to August, we're also still kind of hiring at the beginning, but it's mostly with the orientation planning. That's the big focus, which is involved with the orientation coordinators and executives again. And then again, like I mentioned before, hiring is still occurring for the e-mentors, mentors, all the different leaders that we have in this portfolio. When we approach May to September, really that is Sprout e-mentorship's focus. So if you are applying to be a Sprout e-mentor, really May to, I'd say like mid-September is when the role runs. We'll go into details about what exactly that looks like, but if you're looking in terms of timelines, you want a summer role and not really a fall winter role or not really something in September, the e-mentorship role might be something you want to consider. Next, when looking at August and September, that's really our orientation season. So it's quite a busy season with a lot of students coming in. They're moving in for the first time or they're starting their classes. And that's primarily when we're running our orientation events. So you'll see there's New Roots, New Journeys, and Ignite, just to define those quickly. New Roots is the general orientation program. You might hear it called traditional orientation. It's usually the week-long event. New Journeys refers to our international orientation, and then Ignite refers to our free academic orientation. So usually 1 or 2 days for the other two. Again, this is really focused on our coordinators, our executives, and all the different leaders for this particular program. Finally, in September to November, it's mostly just orientation wrap-up recording. So reporting. One of the big things for orientation as a coordinator and executive, so if you're looking at the executive role, you might think, oh, September orientation is done after that week, like I'm done too. But there is a bit about transition that needs to be done. So that's just making sure that everything is wrapped up, everything's paid for, that you complete an orientation transition report so that next year's team has your work and the details and your words in one document to share. Finally, after orientation, we're really looking into the mentorship role. So that's coming from October to April of 2024. So basically the whole academic year. Sprout Mentorship is mostly run by the Sprout mentors, and they work closely with my role, so the Student Life Programs Coordinator. And this is mostly like meetings happening throughout the semesters. And again, it's happening during the fall and winter semesters. So just a quick note about the different roles. You have some opportunities to hold more than one role. So you can do, say, an orientation role and an e-mentor role or a Sprout mentor role, but you can only hold one orientation role at a time. So for example, if you're applying to be an executive, you can't apply to be a peer leader as well. So you'd have to choose between one or the other. You're also more than welcome to apply to more than one role, but you have to make a choice at the end for one for this summer. So a little bit about the different roles, and this gives you a bit of a heat map in terms of how it looks like over the year to get a bit of idea of like when is it the busier periods, when it's the quieter periods. So for the orientation executive role, it's with the green kind of in the middle. If you look at that column right now, it's currently the hiring period, but then as you begin the role from April to maybe I'd say June-ish, July, it's a bit more like part-time work, lighter work. You're getting started with the role, you're slowly building up. And then really in September, that's when you're getting the more full-time work. It's longer hours, longer days. And then going back into September, like end of September, October, it's lighter work again, more part-time work. With the other roles like e-mentorship, it's quite light throughout the summer. So really, we'll explain it later on, but it's mostly like email work. So it's quite light. It's very part-time, few hours a week, nothing too heavy. For the leader's role, as you notice, it's a very condensed area, but we're hiring right now. And then really the time you're looking at for commitments is August. So that's usually when the training's happening. And then September is the heavy period where for the week of orientation, that's really where you're getting into the role. And similar to eMentors, the Sprout mentor role, again, is quite part-time throughout its duration. So again, a few hours once in a while throughout each month. So you're beginning in October, maybe even late September for training, but it's mostly light throughout the semester, so low commitment. So moving on, I will hand it over to Chelsea.
I love this picture. So this is New Roots 2022. So this was last year. It's just a nice group picture of everyone. In the purple shirts, you can see the orientation executives. In the green shirts, you can see our lovely leaders. And then surrounded by them are our new Cs, our incoming students who we are supporting during orientation. Again, New Roots is just a term that we use to refer to our orientation program. You may hear in other years like New Tides and other new names. Those are kind of just the themes, but New Roots is the term that we use to refer to orientation in general. Great, so the roles. There we go. So the orientation coordinator, commuter advisor, and the BIPOC focus commuter advisor roles So applications for those have closed and we are not hiring for them anymore. But that means it's time for the executives, the orientation leaders, Sprout Mentor, and the Sprout e-Mentor positions to be hired. And that's why you're all here today, to learn more about those positions. All right. So this year we have two new additions kind of to our orientation leader team. And the first is peer leader. It might be a term that you've heard before. So our PLs, kind of what they do is they develop meaningful and caring relationships by leading a group. So they're basically just the leaders for the new Cs in their little orientation group. They prioritize safety and well-being. They provide the leadership to the incoming students and answer any questions they have, as well as give referrals. The term of the role, as Alex has mentioned before, it's from August to the end of orientation. So basically training and then into orientation week. Applications close on May 10th. And the peer leader role is, sorry, kind of getting lost here. So during New Roots, PLs are assigned a group of approximately 20 students, and they're responsible for welcoming these students and facilitating connections, conversations, and fun. As I said before, they share resources and help make referrals to services on campus. This might be a good role for you if you love being in groups, being a conversation starter, and being a mentor to students who may be looking for guidance and support. What this role looks like in practice are on the slide. So I will move on to the compensation and time commitment. So for these types of leaders, before you can go on and be a PL, you will have to do training. And this includes JOLT, so that is Joint Orientation Leader Training. It takes place 4 days, throughout August. We also have NCOLT, so that is New College Orientation Leader Training. That takes place on August 28th, 29th, the 30th. And there is IAR training, so that is Identify, Assist, and Refer. That one is an online module that you can do asynchronously. So this role, it involves long working days throughout orientation week. So orientation week is going to be on September 3rd to the 7th. Classes are accepted. Sorry. These days can be up to 12 hours long, so that means 10 a.m. to 10 p.m. But this also does include breaks, free meals, and more low energy moments throughout. So you're not going to be running around from 10 a.m. to 10 p.m. There are moments where you can just chill, you can rest, just hang out with your leader friends. On the 2nd of September, leaders do assist with residents move-in day. So you'll be helping all the students move into our residence buildings here. So this is a volunteer role, but you do get CCR validation and that training that we highlighted before. On to Alex.
Yeah, so now on to the event leader role. So for reference, this is one of the newer roles that we have added on to complement the team for orientation. And really the event leader purpose is to foster an environment that essentially supports the start of incoming students' development. And you're essentially contributing to tasks that are required for the programs to run effectively and efficiently. So really, if you've ever seen Orientation Week, it's quite busy. There's a lot of different events happening throughout the day, a busy schedule, a lot of back-to-back things or different setups and takedowns required. So that role is really there to assist with all of this. And I would say this role really would be a great consideration or right for you if you prefer very clear set tasks or things to do and more hands-on work rather than responsibility for a group of people. So previous role that Chelsea talked about was a peer leader role. It's very much like you're doing icebreakers, you're socializing a lot, you're leading a group of students, but this role is more behind the scenes support. So if you prefer less social work and like to help out where needed, this role might be the one for you. And what it looks like in practice really is similar to the peer leader role. You're doing the trainings as well. So we have, I'll kind of go through them again, but similar trainings required, again, setup and takedown of activities and meals, as well as supporting distributions. And essentially being that just-in-time assistance for the operation of orientation. So say if an exec comes to you and says like, hey, we need help setting this up quickly, or hey, there's been a change of plans, you would kind of be that person ready to jump in on the action and start helping out where needed. And similar to the peer leader role, again, you're prioritizing that safety and well-being, you're modeling positive behavior, a lot of team development and collaboration, and making referrals as needed. So same as a peer leader role, applications do close on May 10th, and it's the same duration. Let us move on to the event leader compensation and time commitment. So similar to the peer leader role, again, you're doing the orientation leader training. There's the JOLT training, which is joint orientation leader training. It's several days. There's asynchronous components as well as a synchronous in-person component usually. That is run through Central Student Life. So essentially what that is the opportunity to meet with other leaders and divisions, do the training together, and then we'll follow that up with a new college orientation leader training. So that is called NCOL, and it's 3 days. It's in person, happening towards the end of August, 28th, 29th, and 30th. And finally, another training that is required is an online module called IAR, Identify, Assist, and Refer. So there's quite a bit of training pieces involved, but really all this is to help prepare you for the week of orientation and really help you feel comfortable, as well as do some teamwork and team building exercises as well. So it'll be fun too. It's not just, sitting in a lecture hall and listening all day. There's going to be some more interactive components. And similar to the peer leader role, it's again that first week of September, with the exception of if you're taking classes. Obviously, we won't ask you to come in and skip your class. But during those days before classes start are really our busy days. So that 10 a.m. to 10 p.m. Day with, of course, the breaks, free meals, and low energy moments throughout. September 2nd, again, is the residence move-in day, and similarly before volunteer role. So it doesn't have a paid compensation piece, but you do get CCR validation and a lot of pre-service trainings that you can include in, say, your resume in the future to kind of include that piece as well. So we are moving on to the orientation influencer, which Chelsea will take on.
Thank you. So our next leader role is the orientation influencer. We will be hiring for 20. And essentially the OI, their purpose is fostering an environment that supports the start of incoming students' development by contributing to creating a positive, high energy and caring culture of orientation. So this role might be right for you if you love singing or cheering loudly, if you don't mind showing your face on social media, and you get energy from seeing others get really hyped up. Like the other leader positions, the applications close May 10th, and it's from August to the end of orientation, which is early September. This does include the training that happens in August. Along with the influencer role, you will still be you still have the opportunity to be making referrals to campus resources if needed. So you may still get approached by students, and you will be well equipped to answer those questions and make those referrals. But yeah, so you basically just do a bunch of cheers, have fun. You'll be facilitating icebreakers as well with a large and a small group. Next slide. All right, as for compensation and time commitment, it's pretty similar to the past two leader roles. So prior to New Roots, that's a typo. The OIs will be attending Jolt and NCOLT. NCOLT takes place 28th, 29th, and the 30th of August, and you will be doing IAR training, which again is an online module. It will be long working days as well throughout orientation week, 10 a.m. to 10 p.m. sometimes. But again, there are breaks, free meals, and more low energy moments throughout. So even though you're hyped up for most of the time, you get a chance to take a break and chill. And you will also be assisting with move-in day on the 2nd of September. Right, so now for the Sprout eMentor. So this position, this position is an entry-level role where we don't really require any student leadership experience. If you don't know where to start, this is a great place to begin your leadership journey. So eMentors, they provide caring leadership to incoming students by answering questions via email. Like the other leader roles, they model positive behavior and they refer up to campus resources if needed. Different from the other roles where it's in person during orientation week, this role is fully virtual. It's online because the nature of the work is just emailing back and forth with your e-mentees. The applications do close on the 10th of May as well, but the role is from May to the end of September. But yeah. On to compensation and time commitment. So the training for this, it's just a 2-hour e-mentorship training session in May. Right before you start that mentorship, you'll receive this training. You'll be supporting incoming students via email and other digital means, possibly Quarkus and Discord. It's just a max of 3 hours per week throughout May to September. It is a volunteer role as well, but you will be receiving CCR validation and that pre-service training. And on to Sprout Mentor.
So moving on to the Sprout mentorship role, similar to the eMentor role, you're going to hear a lot of names pop up. So Sprout refers to our mentorship program in general. And essentially when the eMentorship portion continues, we move on to the mentor, which is more of an in-person role. So similar again, we're providing caring leadership to first-year students, and it's essentially through small group or mostly one-on-one meetings. So once a month, we're asking a minimum of 1 meeting with your mentee or mentees. You're also attending monthly meetings with fellow mentors, as well as me, the Student Life Programs Coordinator, to kind of check in on how things are going, talk about development pieces, and sometimes embed some training throughout the year so that you're never stopping your learning. Again, with the mentorship role, you're promoting ongoing new college events, programs, and services to new college students. So I'll be constantly sharing information with the mentors, and then you share it along to your mentees as well. And again, it's modeling that positive behavior, referring to campus resources needed. And applications close on May 10th, but the role duration is during October to April. I will say similar to the eMentor role, it's very low key. Most of the hours are when you're available, with the exception of the monthly meetings. But you kind of make your own time, you decide your own schedule with it. So it's very flexible of a program with tons of support if you need it. In terms of the compensation and time commitment, so you are again doing an identify, assist, refer training. If you've done it through orientation, for example, you don't have to redo it. Just show that you've done it and you're good to go. There's also a mentor training to help prepare you for the role, typically early October, sometimes late September, depending on when we could find a time, but it's about 2 half days to cover the material. You'll also get a bunch of resources as well to help you out. The role, it says less than 5 hours per week. Again, this might fluctuate too. So each week might look a little bit different for you, but again, it's mostly you're focusing on meeting with your mentees at least once a month. So that can include organizing the meetings with your mentees, sending those emails, sending those resources. And we also do a monthly report, very simple. It's just like, what did you talk about with your mentee this this month? And just having that go in once a month. The compensation, again, it's a volunteer role, but you're getting CCR validation. And there is a lot of pre-service trainings beforehand. Also potentially opportunities to get Safe Talk certified. So great opportunity to do that with us as well for free, because that usually comes at a charge if you're familiar with Safe Talk. So we're going to move on to the orientation executive roles. So this is, again, focused throughout the summer and fall. Again, we're talking about a lot of similar things like modeling that positive behavior, but there's also a lot of nuances to the executive role, which we hire around 8 positions for, and I'm going to go on to the portfolio soon so you know the different executive types. But really with the orientation role, there's a lot of things like stakeholder management. You even present to stakeholder groups. So that can be for the new college stakeholders. So we have various people involved, different offices involved, like the registrar, the library, the writing center, so on. There's a student council involved. They're a really big stakeholder as well, and often in these functional group. OPFG stands for Orientation Planning Functional Group. It's a meeting that happens often throughout the summer, and that's where a lot of stakeholders are there to present or chat with. So again, you're fostering community within your exec team as well as with the larger team. So we'll note this in the next slide, but you're working really closely with the leaders as well. You're prioritizing that student learning, so a lot of training and development with your team. And essentially, again, prioritizing safety and well-being throughout the programming and modeling that positive behavior. There's a lot of budget management as well. So if you're really into planning or finances, this is a great role to look into. Again, the functional areas, we're going to go into depth soon, but they're the marketing and promotions, the programs team, and the volunteer management team. So there's 3 portfolios you can apply to. Applications close earlier, so keep that in mind. We were saying May 10th a lot before, but this one is April 3rd. So in a few weeks from now, and the duration is from May to October. So for this year, we are mostly doing in person for orientation. So the expectation is that the role will also be done in person. So I'm just going to drop into the chat the link. It does include a list of all the different positions and more details there. But going on to the next slide, with compensation, we're looking at a $1,000 stipend at the end, but it's divided and distributed as $250 per month. So I think it's May, June, July, and August, or sorry, June, July, August, September. Those are the 4 stipend months. You also get CCR validation, a lot of pre-service training, as we mentioned before, and the Safe Talk certification. So again, just noting very quickly, it's the JOLT training, the NCOLT training, IAR training, and some trainings embedded earlier on in the role to help prepare you. This role does ask for a bigger time commitment as it's happening throughout the summer. So it could look to 18 to 15 hours per week. This also really depends on the portfolio you are in. So say if you are in the marketing and promo portfolio, your workload might look a bit heavier at the start of the summer versus if you're in the volunteer management role, it might look lighter in the start of the summer, but slowly pick up towards August. So depending on the portfolio you pick, it might shift a bit in terms of how those hours look like per week. But really, again, August is when we're in our busy month and September is orientation week. So full hours are expected during orientation week, which is September 2nd to 9th, with classes accepted, of course. And we do require first aid and CPR training, but this can be subsidized. So what that means is if you don't currently have first aid or CPR training, we can help get you that training and provide financial assistance for it as well, so you don't have to pay for it full cost. Okay. So portfolio areas, the fun part. Again, the link that I just shared does go into depth into the different portfolios, so you could read it on your own time just to kind of understand what they are. But very briefly, volunteer management, our first portfolio, VMs, is the short term we use. Really, there's a lot of Staffing components involved, you're really working on that logistics package. So our logistics, I call it like the syllabus of orientation week. It includes all the details where everyone is moving, how literally like groups are moving. So every detail you can imagine about planning for orientation week is in that logistics package. So the VMs really focus on, okay, who's going where, who's doing what, how does this look like? And they work closely with our grants team. They also organize things like socials and team building activities for both the execs and leaders. So they might also engage with the leaders online throughout the summer, whether it's on Teams or other platforms. Again, developing those group time logistics and activities, as well as training the leaders on how to do them, how to know more about them. So there's a lot of planning and development in that area too. And finally, the VMs are the first point of contact for the peer leader team. So if there's, say, absences or issues that happen or anything that needs to be referred up to, the VMs are often a great resource to look into beyond, say, staff if you can't find a pro staff or the orientation coordinators. Moving on to the marketing and promotions team, also known as the M&P team. Really, they're the group that focuses on our visual identity for orientation. So as Chelsea mentioned earlier on, every year there's usually a theme that goes on. The team usually develops that together, and the MNP team really takes that theme and starts developing that visual look, usually with a graphic designer who is hired as well. They moderate the social media accounts. So we have quite a few things like Instagram, Facebook, TikTok, newsletters, so on. They create posts, they develop campaigns like that. They're always communicating that key info and deadlines. So ticket sales, registrations, any contests that we might have, our schedule release, and so on through our various platforms. Other things they might do is update our Quarkus page and website. So we do have the New College website. We have a student guide. We also have a Quarkus course for our incoming class to be able to reference to information. And again, they are also a first point of contact for our leader team, but more focused on the orientation influencer team. Because again, they're a social media influencers. Finally, we have our programs portfolio, or the GRAMs as we like to shorten it to. And really this team and portfolio focuses on planning the events and developing those programs from start to finish. So having those ideas, say at the start of summer, and by the end of August, we have all the logistics down, all the vendors have been contacted, everything is ready to run for the first week of September. This role also really focuses on things like risk assessments, which we help, our office really helps in on. So every program or GRAMS executive does a risk assessment for each program that they are proposing for orientation week, and then we help out with that planning as well. There's a lot of food logistics and ordering as well. So orientation week, busy week, very high energy. So we need to feed our students as well as our staff. So how does that look like? Who are we ordering from? How does food logistics run? Securing bookings, preparing supplies. So all those little bits that go into making an event, very important, also done through GRAMS. And finally, they are the first point of contact for our event leader team. So if you remember earlier on, event leaders really help with, behind the scenes, getting things prepared, getting things set up. So if something is needed, if you need to kind of assign an event leader to something, the GRAMS team is their first point of contact. So that covers our three main executive portfolios. Moving on, Chelsea will take on important dates, and then we'll cover questions at the end.
All right, thank you, Alex. So some important dates. So right now in the present, applications for orientation executives, peer leaders, event leaders, orientation influencers, Sprout eMentors, and Sprout mentors are now live. So you can go ahead and apply. And I believe is there a link in? Yes, so the link is already in the chat for you. For those watching this as a recording, it's already there because you accessed it through the website. And on Monday, April 3rd at 9 a.m., that is when the applications close for orientation executives. And on May 10th at 9 a.m., that's a Wednesday, that's when the leaders, mentors, and eMentor applications close. We recommend that you apply for all the positions that you are interested in. Put your name into the exec hat if you aren't sure. And you can always rescind afterwards, and it will still allow you to choose other positions. And some next steps. So from here, check out the Student Life hiring page. You can scan the QR codes over there. The Student Life Common application. Follow us on socials to stay updated. We have an Instagram, Facebook, and a TikTok. So those are the Life at New and the orientation specific socials is NC orientation. If you have any questions regarding hiring, the application process, anything like that, you can email us at new.studentlife@utoronto.ca. And where to find any application support, check out the career and exploration and check out career exploration and education for upcoming workshops, one-on-one support, and mock interviews. Those are really useful. And lastly, we have a career We have career educator coming on the 28th of March from 3 to 5 p.m. in Wilson Lounge. So that's at 40 Wilcox, right in the lounge over there. It'll take place during our community hours. It's completely free. You can drop in and it's low key. Anything else to add for that, Alex?
No, and again, like I mentioned earlier in this chat, Hannah Stevenson is going to be there for the career education lounge meeting. So I highly encourage, I notice a lot of students tend to want to book one-on-one meetings, so that can be really difficult, but she's there to kind of sit and chat with people one-on-one or sometimes in a smaller group. So if you want to learn more, I highly recommend going to that session as well.
I've also included a link to the Career Exploration and Education Center in the chat. All right.
So I think we're at the questions phase. I will stop the recording now so that you can ask your questions freely. But to everyone watching the recording, thank you so much for joining us. And I will pause right now.